for our workshop, and for those of you who are just now arriving for our regularly scheduled board meeting, welcome. We call the meeting to order, and we're going to ask Ms. Allen if she would please lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We're on Roman numeral 3, audience of any citizen. The FGC Board of Trustees will hear any citizen who wishes to address the board on a one-time basis pertaining to a relevant topic. If the board wishes to hear more about the topic, that topic will be scheduled for a future board meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and the time dedicated to this topic will not exceed 20 minutes. And we have one speaker that has signed in this evening. That's Mr. Loker, and we'd ask him to please come forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Stu Loker, Columbia County Observer. It's nice to be here. I also live in Columbia County and have been a supporter of education and post-secondary education for my whole life. I came tonight because of the charter school discussion that you had earlier and had before. I'm totally against this. I'm looking at the presentation part where it says Baker County has 28,000 students, Columbia 70, and how many high school students they have. If you look behind you, you'll see the sign of all the counties this college covers. And I would suggest you look at the bottom line and maybe fix that, because if you see they're not in alphabetical order, who put them up apparently doesn't know the alphabet. They must have graduated from Columbia County High School. And you should fix that. Every student in this 5-county area needs to have equal access to this charter school. I don't care if they live up in the Gulf of Mexico in Dixie County, or they live at the outskirts of Union County, or whatever county they live in. This is paid for with public funds, with public money, with state money. And I'll share with you what I told Representative Brannon while he was getting his cookie. I was never in favor of a representative being on a college board because clearly he has an advantage. So it took me a while, and I found the Commission on Ethics said it's okay. It really does. They made an opinion about that. And what I told them was, this is the first time I really think that this is okay. And he's in a position to be able to change this kind of thing. If you guys want a charter school, you guys should run a charter school and do what it takes to be a charter school and service all 5 counties in this area. And if Tallahassee Community College, or whatever it's called out there, can have a charter school, and you feel you need a charter school, then you should do what they're doing. And you should run the school, facilitate the school, and arrange for transportation to get people here. Now, that's how much time do I have, Mr. Chairman?
We've got about 20 seconds.
Fine. So you look, there's one outfit in this region that does public transportation. That's Swanee Valley Transit Authority. It's a failure. They could bring people to the charter school and could have brought people from Dixie County to the summer school programs, which was out of reach for many of them. So in closing, all I can say is this. You folks should not approve this unless all children, all students in this 5-county area have equal access to the new charter school. And if you can't do that, then you should change the name of this college back to Lake City Community College, because that's really what it is. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We're on to Roman numeral 4, approval of last month's February 8th board meeting minutes. You've had those minutes with you now for an appropriate amount of time to peruse them, look over them. Does the board see any changes, corrections, or amendments that need to be made to the board minutes? If there are none, we'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as we receive them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Mrs. McGinnis moves to approve the minutes as we receive them. We have a second.
Second.
Ms. Allen seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign, the motion's carried. We will not have our student government report tonight. Zamaria Granada, who does a great job as our student body president, she made a valiant effort to be here, but just couldn't quite pull it off, so we miss her. Roman numeral 6, presentation of the consent agenda, and the items on the consent agenda are routine business, state directives, and/or compliance items. All items have been reviewed by the board attorney and have been available to the board for its examination. Any trustee can request a topic be removed from the consent agenda and discuss further. Typographical errors will be noted and corrected in the board minutes. You have had the consent agenda for an appropriate amount of time as well as you've looked over that. Is there any item that any board member would like to see removed from the consent agenda, considered separately? If there are none, we'd like to entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda as listed in your packet.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Dr. Cerncy makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Ms. McGinnis seconds the motion. Thank you, Ms. McGinnis. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. And we are at Roman numeral 7, academic affairs.
I'll take that over right now.
Dr. Berry.
So, thank you. Hopefully I'll do better than last time. The, accreditation is very important to this institution, just not at an institutional level, but also at a program level. We had the NAEYC site visit. Dr. Peace and I met with that team, along with Dr. Carswell and her team. We're the only program in the state that is accredited for early childhood in the state by that organization. And by any organization, we're the only program that's accredited. So we had hosted a 3-site member on-site team. They came from Arizona, Michigan, and somewhere else. The 3-day visit considered meetings with faculty, students, administrators, and stakeholders. With the exception of a few minor concerns about 2 assessments and a clerical issue, the response was overwhelmingly positive. The team said that the program faculty made students feel energized and excited to continue their education. One student referred to Dr. Cross, who's the program coordinator, as their personal cheerleader. They read us their report, no recommendation. They have to submit it to the national organization, and we'll get our status at the end of the semester. So I wanted to let you know that. Dr. Carswell continues to work with the local school districts for our teacher apprenticeship grant that we have received. More information to come on that. Our art club has been working with artists from Gainesville to do a metal clay workshop for students and answer questions about having an art career. Our Brain Bowl team, as we mentioned last time, competed in the national championships this past weekend and placed 10th in the nation. And there were about 26 teams, I think James said. Kudos to all the students that competed, and special thanks to James Javons, the Brain Bowl coach, and Patsy Love for her co-teaching of that. They went to Chicago and did that. The team will be competing in a state competition at Santa Fe College. I want to turn the program over briefly to Dr. Troy Appling, our Howl magazine. You want to talk about that real quick?
Back at the end of last semester, Howl has done it again. The Student Literary Magazine competed in the Florida College System Publication Association annual competition. And so at the end of November, we won 5 of 14 categories, third place in each of the following categories: poem, best poetry section, best nonfiction piece, best individual artwork, and best individual photo. They did a comic book theme last year. This year's edition will be coming out after spring break, and I'm excited to announce that the Art Club, who is doing all sorts of other cool things, has also partnered with Howl, and they are helping with the design this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us. Congratulations.
So on that same note, our theater production, we are going to announce that our summer production by the students and community will be Peter and the Starcatcher, which is a Broadway that was pre-Peter Pan. For those of you who don't know that, I didn't know that, I had to look it up. Auditions will be held in April before final exams, and the production dates will be June 27th to 30th. If any of you want those tickets, please contact Amy in my office. And under workforce, I'll just briefly go over some things in workforce. Our welding professor, Joe Ganser, has been selected to serve on Lincoln Electric's National Board for Welding Education, which is very important. He'll start his role later in April. And very important on our public safety programs, we're really trying to do some non-credit programs, just not credit programs. And we're working with law enforcement advanced programs and the Blue Bridge Training, which are nationally recognized training companies that travel to colleges across the country. And we'll be bringing these programs to first responders, ambush counter tactics, active shooter instructor course to train instructors on methods to teach officers, high-risk entry to train officers how to safely executive building entries during search warrants and high-risk situations. And we're also planning 2 big ones is officer active shooter response, and one that Chris Brady and I have talked about that's very important for first responders and the community will be an autism awareness. This course will be offered in partnership with the Baker County Sheriff's Office in an effort to educate our first responders and community members on effective strategies for identifying and assisting autistic individuals. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, observations from any board member on the academic affairs reports given by the president? If not, then we'll move on to Roman numeral 8, student affairs, public information.
Michelle's going to do it for Tony.
And that is not Mr. Cardenas.
They're about the same size.
I am going to try to do my best to give his report, and I will not insert a dad joke. So we will move on. Yeah. In athletics, the Hall of Fame induction, FGC proudly announces the selection of the 2024 inductees to the FGC Athletics Hall of Fame, David Kessler and Glenn Weish, both of the esteemed veterans of FGC men's basketball program. These 2 legends will grace our FGC athletic banquet and Hall of Fame induction on April 13, 2024. In men's basketball, our men's basketball team may not have conquered the Sun Lakes Conference Championship, but they left their mark with a record of 19-12. Kudos to Amayo Phillips and Antoine Weber for making it to the Region 8 All-Conference and All-Tournament teams. Flag football. The Timberwolves women's flag football team had an outstanding month, securing victories against the University of Florida club team and Florida State University club team. Trio. We had a financial literacy luncheon. Trio program successfully hosted its annual financial literacy meeting, drawing a record attendance of 72 students over 2 sessions. Lance Straughty from Edward Jones, Lake City, delivered informative presentations, contributing to the financial success of our students. In student activities, we had our first annual Spirit Week, and it was a hit. Highlights include men's basketball game with an estimated 800 attendees, softball game, carnival, and cookout with an estimated 250-plus participants, alumni tailgate and reunion with 150-plus in attendance, the women's flag football victory against FSU club team, watched by 200-plus spectators with a final score of 54-0. Yeah. In the Public Information Office, press releases. Since February 8th, the last board meeting, the Public Information Office has issued the following press releases. A release for the Beatles tribute concert, women's golf team and coach announcement, Spirit Week 2024, 2024 Athletics Hall of Fame and banquets, and then finally our upcoming event, the Next Life South Blood Bank Drive, is scheduled for Monday, April 15th, and we're continuing our commitment to our community engagement and service with that. Any questions?
An observation. That had the Mr. Cardenas feel to it.
I was channeling him.
You were. I really, it did. It had that little, he would be so proud.
This is a little less dry than my budget amendments I have.
Great job. Would you please give us the scores on the,
UF was 59-0, and FSU was 55-7.
yeah, that's not bad.
great.
I was cooking for a large group of our students over at the Baker County High School about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And several young ladies came up to where I was cooking, and they said, "Mr. Crawford, aren't you on the board at Florida Gateway College?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "We need your help." And I said, "Well, that's what I'm on the board for. How can I help you?" And they said, "We want to play football so badly over there." I said, "You've asked the one thing I can't help you with." So sorry. But they were so pumped. It was wonderful. They were man, they know about FGC football around here. Very, very serious business. So congratulations. Okay, Roman numeral 9. Ms. Schrader, we'll be pulling for you to match that. Enrollment and marketing. Channel, Mr. Yeah, well, you've got it. You're looking sharp, Mr. Cardenas. He'd be proud.
Good evening. For spring enrollment, we are holding strong. We're still up in credit hours, so we're up about 1%.
Good.
We are at 24,180 credit hours compared to 23,996 credit hours at this point last spring. We've improved headcount a bit, but we're still down, so we are at 2,759 students compared to 2,828 students last spring. That's about 2.4% difference. So that number shouldn't really change. We're pretty much done with registration at this point. Summer registration begins April 1st. We are up in applications. We had a great turnout at open house last Thursday, which was March 7th. We had about 300 people come through. So one of the best we've had since I've been here. I feel like, yes, really good. So we're hopeful that means positive things for our enrollment for summer and fall. We hosted Spring Grad Fair today in Building 14. Students could come in, order their cap and gown, submit their graduation application, and get ready to participate in spring commencement on May 3rd. So far, we have about 160 students who are signed up to participate. Hopefully, we'll have a few more. Financial aid has been very busy promoting the 24-25 FAFSA. They held a FAFSA brunch on a Saturday morning, last Saturday, from 9 to noon. It was a great event. We did have some students and parents come. I think we've learned 9 a.m. might be a little bit too early for our students, so we'll adjust that. But they're trying to really reach those days and evenings that people are available to come. So they're also going to be holding a Nacho Average FAFSA workshop event on March 28th from 4:30 to 6:30, and they'll be serving walking tacos at that event. The 2024 Board of Trustees scholarship application deadline is tomorrow. So far, we have 74 applications, which is really good. We'll have more come in tonight and tomorrow for sure with some last minute. That's the scholarship that's available to seniors at our public high schools in our service region, and that covers tuition for 2 years. We have a really good situation with our open door grant funding going on. We were given $250,000 for the fall and spring terms, and that's for our short-term CTE programs. And so financial aid has done such a good job getting that money to those students, and Chris Brady and his team at promoting it with their programs, that we exhausted that funding. And the state reached out at the beginning of this week to offer us more funding. So we're going to be able to go back and disperse to students who maybe didn't receive it or could receive a stipend in addition to a scholarship. And then I think we can use it through August. We haven't learned the actual number, but we asked for a really nice number. We hope we get it. So I'll report on that next time. Senior Night 2024, we're inviting all high school seniors to come here April 11th from 4 to 6:30. And staff will help seniors do their admission application, their FAFSA, and get them ready to start in the summer or the fall.
Great.
That concludes my report.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Roman numeral 10, Business Services Report. Mr. Miss. I got.
Hello again. Okay, I have my budget amendments to request approval on. First one, the college requests approval of budget amendment number 7 to the restricted current fund, Fund 2, for the fiscal year 23-24. This amendment recognizes revised award authorizations and new grants received in the 23-24 fiscal year.
You hear Mrs. Holloway's request. Do we hear a motion to approve her request as she stated it?
So moved, Medina.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Medina, and we have a second by Mr. Brannon to approve letter B, budget amendment number 7, restricted current fund 2, fiscal year 2023-2024. All in favor of that motion and second, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Ms. Holloway.
Thank you. Next, we are requesting approval of Fund 7, Budget Amendment 7, which is revised so the report reflects actual revenue, revised budgeted expenditures, actual expenses, and updated projects through February 16th, 2024.
You hear Mrs. Holloway's request. Do we have a motion to grant her request as she has stated it?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Lander moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We have a motion and second to approve budget amendment number 7, capital outlay plan for unexpended plant fund 7 for the budget fiscal year of 2023-2024. All in favor of that motion and second, members of the board, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. The motion's carried, and next is our president's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, want to announce that Foundation for Florida Gateway College has selected their friend of the foundation for the 2024 year, and that will be the Dixie Educational Foundation. As we know, one of our board members has been the initial founder of that for a long time, and Lee and his staff have figured out that there's been over $1 million worth of scholarships been awarded through the Dixie County Foundation. So we're naming the organization as the friend of the foundation. They'll be highlighted and celebrated at the annual luncheon later in the year. Congratulations, Kelly.
I just want to say we're thankful and appreciate.
And so are we. So, moving on, there's been lots of, you can see some dirt being moved. The utilities are being prepared for the groundbreaking and the approval down the road for the STEM 2 building. You'll probably get that in April or a May meeting, and we'll groundbreak in June, but they're already working on those utilities to get us ready. And a redundancy system is being put in place in the Performing Arts Center, so we have some redundancy, so we don't have that place. Same thing as the PAC renovation. Phase 1 has been completed, and we'll talk about this event, but it's a very nice facility. Some of you have been there already. It was opened last week. Just a very first-class operation for cultural arts here, and that's just phase one of the situation. Road work will begin in the next few weeks in 2 areas, right, Michelle? It's going to be done before graduation. What comes around goes around with presidents, I guess. We've had a lot of water issues in front of this building and a lot of water issues by the gym. And the discussion has been with architects and engineers that we need to reopen the roadway in front of this building to the gymnasium. It's been causing a lot of problems, damage to the library area and so forth. So we're reopening that from a pedestrian, and will be bumps and so forth, but people say what comes around goes around. But so it needed to be done. So that's that has been approved, and also what has been approved is the drainage by the dorms. When we get heavy rains, hurricanes could hit that building, and nothing would ever happen to it but flooding. So there's been some significant drainage projects going on, and that came in under bid, so we're happy about that. Moving on. Let's talk about the legislative update. Lee spent a lot of time up there. He has his hair slicked up a lot when he goes up there. No, but anyway, he's been a very good advocate for the institution, for legislature, for asks, and he's brought me up there a few times, and we had a pretty, I would say, one of the issues was a game changing. So I want to thank our delegation for all their help, but a couple of projects got approved pending the governor's signature. Is our welding expansion and renovation for $932,000, and also waterproofing of 4 buildings, which will improve the foundations and the outs of the exterior walls that have had some water damage. Will help us maintain those old buildings for another 20 or 30 years. So that was a $1 million, and then the 2 things that happened. The game changer was the state health insurance. You know, those of you that have been on this board a long time, since the beginning, probably 7 years, when we were told we were old and sick, and that's why we're paying so much money. It's been a focus of this institution to try to get better health care for our faculty and staff, and affordable health care. And that was approved by the legislature. Chuck, thank you so much. And it was a game changer.
That will save employees how much money?
I knew you were going to ask. Currently, the price for employee dependent would be about $900 to $1,000 a month. Now it will be $180. It'll be a game changer. Same. So that's an $8,000 change for people that have, and so. Thank you to all of you that supported us when we were the only sole talkers about that up in Tallahassee. And so I think that's persistence. And when somebody told me you have great ideas at small colleges, but your portal is small. And I made sure when we passed that, I said, don't forget that. So don't forget that comment. So we're pretty excited about that. And in addition, as part of, the state college system did not get any additional operating monies for next year. It was kind of a trade-off because that was an $80 million initiative for the state college system. So the state college system got 0. But thanks to some of our delegation, and we've really pushed hard to show that we still are one of the lowest funded colleges of the 28 colleges per FTE, that at the end we were able to get some end of year, end of budget unrestricted monies. We got $1 million in unrestricted reoccurring money. Wow. So that's reoccurring. It's not one time. So it's reoccurring.
It's our favorite kind.
That's the favorite kind. So I guess it's more than a B, maybe a B plus, Lee. So I just wanted to let you know that. And lastly, which I think before you talk about your discussion, we've really started, I think near and dear to my heart. I didn't grow up here and I didn't do it, but near and dear to my heart is 75 years we've had some strong alumni. And we've never really, alumni we focus in on, but we really haven't. And lately, a lot of alumni have been coming to us. So about 3 weeks ago, and one of your former faculty members at Baker County, Bob Gerard, came with an individual from a school in South Carolina that had put on a play here in 1984 called the 1940s Radio Play, the radio hour, and they put it on in 1984. And they came and made a presentation to me and a few others. Casey was there, and asked to bring that play back this summer as their 40th anniversary. So we have 14 alumni coming from across the country, from California to South Carolina, that produced that play, coming back and producing it, and they're going to produce the play again.
Wow.
And what's so good about it is they needed a place to stay, so I threw the idea out, and they bit that they're going to stay in the dorm they lived in 1984. So we're going to have a lot of RAs there, and I just think it's a really important thing to do, because there is that camaraderie, and it brings back this institution. So I thought it was a really cool thing, so I just wanted to end on that. So,
That's good. That's good.
so. And then, Mr. Chair, the rest is up to you. Thank you.
Sure. We have an action item here on our agenda. And as I come to this, and certainly we're going to open it up for conversation and discussion, as I come to this, and I think we came out of it was a very good workshop, a lot of questions asked, but I think we probably have additional questions, things to think about. I understand that the application is about 80% concluded. So I think that probably we need more discussion. And we're at a place, since we don't have the building funds, we're not pressed right now. I'd rather err on the side of giving it plenty of time for consideration and reflection by the board. So I would like to talk about maybe not having this as an action item tonight, and us having further discussion. I'd like to hear how the board, what you all think about it. If you're ready to do something, I certainly support you, but I wanted to let you know how I felt.
Mr. Chair, I was going to make another recommendation, but it may be correlated either at a future meeting or a workshop. I'm still trying to digest the data that we heard earlier about 26% of our teens not being in school or at work. And I'm trying to better understand the root causes and what role, if any, can we play in alleviating that risk. So I'm not sure that it's tied to the charter school, but I would like to hear more about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Medina. And we will ask the president to consider that and look to a future discussion item on that. Maybe getting with our local school board. I'm still, Mr. Brennan asked very good questions, in my opinion, about the distinction between a sponsor, being an authorizer, and an operator. And I don't know that I'm still real clear on the distinction between a sponsor and an authorizer.
I told Mr. Medina the same thing.
And whenever I heard that, and I can't remember which one it was because I'm not clear on it, that one of those has 80 additional responsibilities for this board. And you all have an abundance of responsibilities as it is right now. So I came away thinking I support, if we go forward as an operator, as opposed to authorizer and sponsor, but I still don't know enough about that. I'd like to know more about that if I'm not by myself. I think maybe it would be a little premature and I stand open to correction. I'm not the board, but I think it'd be premature maybe for us to move on this item tonight. Maybe we get some additional information. Maybe we could communicate individually back to the president about questions that we have, like sponsor versus authorizer versus operator. And I know this from where I've been. And the first school that I was principal of was a residential facility, and every child there had an IEP. And it's one thing for a school to process IEPs and have IEP meetings. It's a whole other thing, though, as a district to be responsible for all of the IDEA issues. And that concerns me for you all. I've been there before. I know what that looks like. I'm not saying that we shouldn't serve students with IEPs at all. That's not what I'm saying. We must by federal law. But what I'm saying is the accountability for making sure that takes place. The safety compliance issues, those are huge hammers that come with that, y'all. I'm telling you, Dr. Surrency would testify to that. There have been superintendents that have lost their positions over that in the state of Florida in huge school districts. I don't know what the implications of that is for this board. So, I think I'm very concerned about sponsorship or authorizer, operator, but still I need more information. Could we, is there anything else any board member would like to say about whether to go forward or not go forward with this item that's listed on our agenda tonight?
Well, I know it's, it's hard for everyone to be here at every meeting, and sometimes there's someone out. But I respect Ms. Norris and Dr. Tepedino's opinions.
Points well taken.
I would like for to have them here, hopefully have a full board here when we make the decision. And I'm not trying to delay it. I know I was a little hesitant to the idea initially, and I have softened considerably to it now. And I understand, especially Dr. Barrett's explanation there at the beginning. But I had the same thing. I still really don't understand, some of the roles about what we'll be doing, what this other entity would be doing, and I think we all probably want to understand that better. And I would like to have, if we can, if it's possible, to have the whole board here when we make that final call.
I don't want to be in position to pass it so we can find out what's in it.
Correct.
And I want to apologize for not being here for the workshop, but,
We're just thankful to have you, Kathy.
well, I'm glad to be here, but I do want to apologize for not.
We understand, Ms. Catherine. It's amazing that you're here. Any other statement on that?
Well, are we talking about, is it better to have those kind of discussions in a workshop atmosphere or this atmosphere? I don't know what do y'all think?
Do you have an
I think probably a workshop, but I don't know. I don't know whatever y'all's opinion.
I agree.
But you're right, and I was the sponsor of that school safety legislation last year. $60 million more got poured into that,
Sure.
with a lot of strings attached.
Sure.
So when the state's funneling money into something that's so important and so serious, obviously they're going to put strings on it, and that's why I was asking the question about what was the pro and the con of the school district being whether it's called the sponsor or whatever the other word was. Because if they're equipped to handle that kind of stuff, because they have to be, then obviously that takes a big burden off of this board and this entity here. But I still, like Mr. Lander and you, Mr. Crawford, I still haven't got I thought I was the only dumb one, but I hadn't realized a lot of
There's more
people in the same boat with me. I haven't got my mind wrapped around
Yes, sir.
the differences and the responsibilities either.
And I'll just add one thing too, David, just that the question I asked about the school grade and school performance, I think that's a pretty important piece as well. Because obviously
Critical.
all of our, the public schools are graded and at the same time, the charter schools are as well. And, what's that gonna look like? And then of course, going back to what I asked as well is how's it really going to benefit the college and our outlying areas, obviously too.
Sure. Okay,
Do you want to entertain a motion to postpone, just to keep it clean?
we will.
Before you just
Yes,
ask a question.
please.
So, well, I
Yes.
mean, I just need some clarification from the board. So are there other issues besides those issues? Are you familiar enough or understanding about the enrollment process? I just want to make sure that we give you feedback. I mean, or is that going to be part of the questions? If you have other, I guess, just make sure you ask me questions, so,
Yeah.
because so we tie this up.
Sure, yeah, we'll pledge that whatever questions we have or issues or concerns, that we'll communicate back to your office in advance of a workshop, if that's okay with everyone, that we'll workshop it. But first, if it's, meets with the approval of the board, of course, we'd like to entertain a motion to postpone the approval of the charter school application. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. So moves. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. You hear the motion and second before the board. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, all members of our board in favor of that motion and second, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion is carried. So please, please send your questions, articulate whatever burden may be on your heart.
May I make one other suggestion, because in May.
Yes, please.
Is the scheduled, well, we usually schedule, it's not scheduled yet. Is it scheduled? It is scheduled. May 9th, we have a scheduled workshop as part of the budget process. I would suggest that potentially that gives us 2 months to answer, and so that way we already have a planned one. I would just suggest that be part of the
Did
agenda.
I hear too,
Yes, sir.
they would give us a lot of information, that, and she had said there was a little addendum at the bottom of the sheet, that they were awaiting an answer, because I saw on the screen the rule that said the students need to come from the county where the facility's located. And then she said that they asked for a clarification on that, but they hadn't gotten a full answer, but they felt like that answer was going to be yes.
Yes.
So will that give us time for them to have gotten that
Yeah, we'll
information?
have a rulemaking on that.
Okay, so May the 9th, we have a workshop already planned. We can include this as a part of that workshop. We'll encourage all board members to attend. I know you all are very faithful, as opposed to some of the boards I've served on. So is that okay with the board if we make that the date for our workshop? Okay, if I don't hear anything else, then good. All right. If there's nothing else about that matter, then we'll move on to Roman numeral 12, topics for future meetings, and we've just handled part of that. If you have anything else, please see the president in his office. He's very, very good about being an open, receptive to anything that we have on our minds or hearts.
Only I want to say, who's that Lee Pinchot fella? I never saw him in Tallahassee. What's he look like?
So one of the legislators said to me, he says, "Am I bothering you too much?" He says, "You're close." Didn't he say that? And he says, "You're close." So the thing is I was there present for that.
Good job, Lee.
Lee does
Go,
a very
Lee, man.
good job, and
Appreciate you, buddy.
we appreciate being able to accommodate him, and we told him that our office is his home away from home. He can sit outside our door and sleep on our couch if he has to.
Roman numeral 13, of course, the warrant register is always available for your inspection. And our Executive Director of Finance does a phenomenal job of facilitating information. I was just at the conclusion, and she didn't mention it, she won't blow her own horn, I will, of a big finance audit for us, just concluded, had the report out this past Wednesday, wasn't it? And there were zero items. I mean, the kind of budget that is so wonderful. And so I visited, in this role, I've had the privilege of visiting with those auditors. If you speak to an auditor, tell them I use those words, the privilege of visiting with those auditors in this role. And they have so much respect for Michelle Holloway, so much respect for her, and it's clear that they're enamored with her for good reason, so thank you for the job you do. We will meet again on April the 11th at 5 p.m. right here in our college boardroom. If there's anything else, nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you can.
Sometimes they drag around being in I know it's hard to do the budget meeting without the finalization of the budget. If that, because we've had to do that we said we'd meet when, May?
Yeah.
We've had to push
May
that back to
9th.
June a couple of times.
Yeah, what
over
we
the
do
years.
is usually we do May board workshop,
Right.
and then we know tentatively stuff, and we have you do, and then sometimes last year what we did was we had another June workshop, and we didn't need it.
Yeah.
And we
I was just
didn't
saying, my suggestion, we definitely go ahead and have the May one.
Right.
And if that budget problem happens, we'll just push it back, but either way, have the May one, no matter what happens with the budget.
Okay, we entertain a motion to adjourn. All we need is a motion. So moved by Mr. Lander. Thank you. We're adjourned.
All right.